The best way to experience something in life is for yourself, and Firestone tires were built for getting out there, for 3-day weekends, and for testing the waters. Try Firestone tires for 90 days. If you're not fully satisfied, we'll refund or replace. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
Jarid Lundeen is the CEO and president of JETT Management, with 4 Tires Plus locations, 4 Valvoline Instant Oil Change stores, and a barbecue restaurant all under his belt. Jarid got the hang of the automobile industry as a young boy, hanging out with his dad at his father's body shop. Over the years, he worked various jobs in the restaurant industry and banking, yet he was called back to the automotive world when his father asked him to partner on a Tires Plus location in Minott, North Dakota. Since then, he bought his father out and has grown the business footprint with much, much more on the way.
Welcome to Johnny G and Friends. I'm Johnny G, and on today's podcast, we're joined by my good friend, Jarid Lundeen, CEO and president of JETT Management, including 4 Tires Plus locations up in Minott, North Dakota. Jarid, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Johnny G. I appreciate it.
So, we've known each other a long time, but for the life of me, I refresh my memory. How did we first meet?
Well, I've known you for a long time. I mean, you were this outlandish guy when I first got in the tire business, wearing purple coats and being the life of the party. And honestly, at the time, I was like, who's this weirdo running around? But everybody loved you. And I always wanted to be part of that group. But that was in 2000, 2001, when we were kind of walking into the Bridgestone world for the first time, because we were Tires Plus originally was Michelin. And so that was the first meeting I'd seen you at. And I always wanted to be your friend. But I really think we actually connected back when you came out to Minott, North Dakota. And I knew who you were. And you called me up and said, "Hey, I'm coming out. I'm with this group, and can I join your meeting?" And of course, I was just thrilled to say yes. But I really, honestly, was more thrilled at the fact that you're just such a. It was great. It was kind of like I'd call it magic. It was an instant friendship from that point, and I've been so blessed to just have the relationship with you this whole time, and super excited to be on your podcast. I've caught quite a few of them, and thank you for inviting me.
Well, my pleasure. And you hosted us a beautiful event up there in Minott. So that was my first visit, and I enjoyed it. Let's talk. I understand you worked in the restaurant industry. You worked in the banking industry for Wells Fargo during college, after college. How did that impact your start in life?
Well, I actually grew up in a body shop with my dad, but, when I worked my first jobs, working the restaurant, what I loved about restaurants was as a server, bar manager, store manager, general manager, everybody expects great things in a restaurant. And when I came over to the auto repair business, no one expects great things. It's kind of a grueling process. And so I'm like, we're hitting home runs every day by just taking care of people at the same level as we did at the restaurant. If we can take care of them as good in the repair shop as we did in restaurants, well, we're doing fantastic. And that's been my philosophy the whole time. And the industry is ramping up for sure. It's definitely, we're doing a much better job of taking care of the guests. But initially, it was kind of a poor experience for most people that would come to a shop. And I've just used that same kind of service, foundation that I've had from the get-go, and family business foundation, to really just love what I do every single day.
That's awesome. So you got a lot going on, my friend. You've got the Tires Plus location, you've got the Valvoline Instant Oil Change locations, and now I call you the other day and you're in the restaurant you're doing pots and pans and getting things organized. So are you trying to take over the whole town, or what are you doing there?
I call it diversifying my portfolio.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
And that's really how I look at it. I really do. I grew up in a family business. When my dad called me and said, "Hey, I want you to be a manager of this tire store that I'm going to buy that's going bankrupt," I said no and no, and finally said yes. And I feel like he gave me a gift by being involved in a family business. And I always call myself first generation. But I also believe that, if my kids, as we talked, I have 6 kids, and if they want to be given the opportunity to be independent and to make their own decisions and kind of follow their own path, it's important that we diversify. Things are changing so rapidly, and I do think we're always going to eat. And so I thought it would be a good idea to branch off into a kind of a third leg of the stool and do something different. And when you called me that day, I typically, people know me as hard to get a hold of, but my hands were in dishwater and I was scrubbing pans for a huge cater. And initially I like to get myself right in the middle of everything. So I was working that cater with my team, and but I picked up with you, and there was clanging in the background, and
I loved it.
I know it's awesome. I'm blessed to be part of all these crazy adventures.
So your dad then really got you started in the tire business, huh?
Yeah. I mean, he had a body shop that he started in 1976. I was 3 years old, and my mom did in-home daycare. And so they took me to the body shop at 3, and I had to live in the shop. I took my naps in the cars and hung out with the body men, and they were like my uncles. And I sat in the showroom and talked to customers. And so you can pretty much drop me off anywhere and I'll find a conversation somewhere, because that's how I grew up. I don't know any different.
No.
And I never wanted to work for him. That was never my goal. So I worked in restaurants and moved furniture and sold life insurance and worked for Wells Fargo. And then he called me up at 25 and said, I'm buying this tire store. And I said, you're nuts. I don't want nothing to do with it. I was wearing a suit every day, 8 to 5, branch manager of Wells Fargo. And I thought I had it figured out, but I've actually been super blessed by it. It's 22 years this year that I've been doing this. And that's why I'm kind of inspired to get my kids involved if they want to be. That's kind of my rule is, if you want to be, great. If not, we'll just, drift off into the sunset as a one generational tire dealer. But I'm hoping they say yes.
Well, your odds are pretty good with the amount of kids you got. So I think somewhere in there, you're versus just having 1 or 2. With 6, you got better odds.
That's right.
So the Valvoline Instant Oil Change locations, you do oil changes in your Tires Plus locations also. Are you seeing a different customer then that would go to the Valvoline oil change places? Is that your strategy, adding that to your business mix?
In 2005, I added a quick lube onto my tire store. And I never asked Bridgestone's a permission on that. So sorry about that, Bridgestone. But because they own the Tires Plus name. Yeah, this whatever. But anyway, so we added that onto our building, and we've always seen a different customer over there. And so speed of service, time is really what people look for. And so 2 of our locations are tied to a quick lube facility, which is Valvoline Instant Oil Change. And then I just added 2 more. They're separate, and I'm building 2 this year. And then we've got 1 more slated for next year. And then hopefully a lot more growth after that. But yeah, we totally see a different customer. I mean, honestly, I would never be a customer in my tire store for an oil change. For tires or repair work, I would, but it's just, I wouldn't sit around for a half an hour, no matter how hard you work it. And I've done it both ways for 22 years. You just can't get past, stay in your car, sit in your car, drive it forward. They're showing you everything as it happens. I mean, we've created so many SOPs to get around that. And now that we've got it where you can't beat it. And so it's actually just really been a great situation. With Tires Plus was a franchise originally, and with Tom Gigax, and so I didn't want to get another franchise. That kind of ended horribly when I was involved. It didn't work out well. And so when Valvoline came to me, I was like, no, I'm not going to be a franchise. And I was actually Express Care originally, and what a blessing the Valvoline Instant Oil Change has been for me, because I mean, we're going to keep growing. I mean, I've got a goal of 20 stores. So we'll see what happens.
Wow. Awesome. So when I called you the other day, Bones BBQ Smokehouse is your new restaurant. Yep. So how do you see the ownership in this now? I understand the oil change and the car dealer, but you got a restaurant now with a great barbecue. How do you see the ownership in that business as a strategic mix to your other businesses?
Well, we take a lot out of each one. Like, growing up in restaurants and then 22 years in the tire business, and really honestly, probably 7 more really in the Valvoline business. So what we're doing is we replicate. What we're trying to do is everything we do is we're trying to replicate every system so it's replicatable. So what we're trying to do right now in the restaurant is we're actually starting with the process of just duplication on every level. And we want to scale this too. I mean, our initial goal for the Bones BBQ is 4 locations in North Dakota, which would put 1 in every major city. And I've actually got some opportunities that people are reaching out to me, and they've got spots for me already lined up. But we got about 18 months of planning ahead of us for the duplication part of it. But I honestly think barbecue is kind of like, it's becoming mainstream, and the tastes are definitely, around it, and there's a lot of creativity with it. So, I mean, this is a whole different vein of my existence, and I'm loving it. Actually, it's been fun. It's hard because I'm stretched so many different directions. But I mean, when I walk into the restaurant world with that team, I mean, we get to be creative, and we get to be fun and flamboyant and just over the top. And so it's been good for me on every level. But we learned what we learned from Valvoline on replication, because they do it so well. We put back into our tire business, and we're putting it into our Bones BBQ. So we are using a lot of those tools and hiring teammates that are good at that.
You're right. Consistency counts, by going to one location. I remember talking to Virginia Tire. They're the same way. Just, they don't want it to be any different than any location that they go to, just like McDonald's used to have, or maybe still has, but the consistency counts. But I think you hit it on the nail on the head there. When I look at fast food, you think of, Wendy's and Burger King and McDonald's and stuff. But when you think about barbecue, that's more healthier to me. I mean, it's not like it's the better alternative. And if you can go into the 4 key states in the Dakotas, then go for it. Yeah. And then probably have a coupon to say, hey, if you need your oil change or you need some tires, here you go. Huh?
Cross promotion like crazy. Yeah. And that's exactly, yeah, no, and the thing about it, when you replicate, it's not only good for the customer, but it's also really good internally for the team. It's less questions and more streamlined, because as we know, it's really the team members are our challenge today.
Very good. Well, if you need anybody for one of your grand openings to go out there with a suit or something, I'll be more than happy.
Very careful. Very careful.
I know you'd be calling me up, but
yeah.
Hey, as long as it's not, as long as it's in the summer months like July, August, September, I'm not coming up in February.
Well, hey, we just got 4 feet here last week. So
4 feet.
It was a record. 4 feet of snow in like a 3-day period of time. Never happened before. I was actually gone on vacation with a little bit of tan, so I missed the whole adventure. But yeah, we had 4 feet. It was an all-time record amount of snow in April for one little period of time. So
unreal. Yeah. So let's talk about some of the mentors in your life and in the tire business. Who were they, and how did they impact everything?
Well, the first guy that was, impactful was Tom Gigax. I mean, the old tires. So we sat through Tires Plus University and orientation, and he came down with just all this vigor. And I really thought that when I walked into this business, it would be like that everywhere, because the only guy I ever knew in the tire business was Tom Gigax. So I was like, wow, this is how it's going to be like the restaurant. We're going to try to exceed expectations and have raving fans and all these things. And so that was great. So Tom was like, wow, this guy's amazing. And then I came across a guy by the name of Larry Morgan. And Larry, just like you, probably doesn't know who I am, but I sat in the meetings when he would put things on. We were coming over to one brand under one name, under Tires Plus, under, his toolage. And I sat in the meetings and I was just amazed by him, and, his embroidered shirts and his cufflinks, but how he handled a room of really upset people. I mean, just a pro, and loved every moment of it, being around him, and just tried to absorb as much information as I could from him. And he came back to different associations and would speak, and I took notes and just really learned a lot. And just keeping back to Larry Brandt. Larry Brandt was the president CEO of Tires Plus, and he was great to me when we separated from the official franchise and became licensee stores. He was instrumental and always gave me great advice. And I've golfed with him a few times, and so I know you golf, but you don't want to golf with me because Larry Brandt will tell you why. And so I'm just not a great golfer. You can't have all these things if you're good at golf. So, of course, my mom and dad, they've been great the whole time. And honestly, Johnny G, you have been, because I just like the fact of how much you love our industry, and it's inspiring just listening to your podcast and being around you. And I take it all in, and I just love it. So, I mean, those are the ones that they stick with me, and I use them every day to kind of, make myself better. And this industry is tough, and we need people that are optimistic and love it and are good at it. And thank God for guys like you guys out there that are making the business better.
Well, we all learn from our mentors. And, I remember some of my mentors telling me, hey, kid, you're the future generation. One thing you're going to do, no matter how bad your day is, when you walk outside your office, even if you just got the worst news ever, you're going to have a smile on your face like you just got a lottery ticket, because you don't want to have any negativity go through the rest of your business, because all of a sudden the secretary sees you, and then all of a sudden so-and-so sees you. Oh, Jared's not looking good today. Johnny G's not looking good today. And then boom, So I took that to heart, and that was the biggest thing I've always done. No matter how anything come up in my life, I was always like, wow, I just won the lottery, man. Let's go, and so I hear what you're saying. You've learned some very good people. A lot of every one of those is my friends. Yeah, especially Mr. Morgan there, who I was down there with just recently. So in talking with you, I
watched that one twice.
Oh, so in talking with you, I know you're scaling up. You just mentioned about the restaurants, what your goal was and stuff. So how do you see all this, tire locations, oil changes, the restaurants? Is there anything else? You're going to go open up nightclubs or something, or what?
I don't know. My wife sure hopes I don't, because she thinks I'm insane the way it is. But, we've got, I wrote a strategic plan back in 2019, and we're, almost getting to the end of that. So we're actually in the process of revamping that. And so that was all about, more Valvolines and also standardizing our Tires Plus business. And so we're almost there. At the end of this year, we're going to be really close. And so we really want to grow the tire brand. Probably not Tires Plus unless they let me, but I want to grow more tire stores. I think there's a huge opportunity right now in the marketplace, as everybody's kind of, getting out of it. I'm a first generation. I'm young enough to want to stay involved. I mean, and I get it. I understand why people are getting out, but I love what I do. And so I want to do more of those, and more Valvolines and more Bones BBQ and no more kids though. Hopefully no more kids.
Well, put that aside. The biggest thing I see in you is something that the industry is kind of missing in the newer generations. It's the relationship piece. I mean, you build relationships like that, man. And you're just talking with you. First of all, you got that good, I don't know if you're half Canadian, half whatever, but whatever it is, you got the good tone in your voice, and you're a likable guy, and you know how to build relationships. And that's why your businesses, whether it's the food or the oil changes or the tire business, they're all successful because you're a successful, positive relationship building type of guy.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. No, I've been blessed with a positive attitude, and that's gotten me through a lot of interesting situations. And so, in all your podcasts, one thing I'll take out of it is people. And, that's the thing that when I got involved in this, my mom said to me, because I didn't want to really work in the tire business. And she said, Jared, you're going to work with people and you like people. And that's one thing that always scares me about the industry, is if we ever lose that, like we've been able to compete with the largest, companies in the world, because there's one thing you can't beat is how you train and how you work. And that's really hard to fix. You can beat us on price or technology, but I feel like we're walking in a new era, Johnny, where the people really, really matter. And I think that I'm pretty good at that part. So I think there's an opportunity. So cross my fingers, we'll find out.
Well, I can see you already, because I go to restaurants, and I say this to Kim, I can tell before I even walk in if I'm going to have a good experience. The hostess either greets me, or she's too busy, or she doesn't care, or half the restaurant's empty and it's a half-hour wait, whatever the case may be. But I also go to this one restaurant called Nick's, and he goes around to all the tables, and he's, how's everything going? How's your food? Talks about stuff. And I want to go back to that restaurant because of that. And so I see that happening in your locations too.
Thank you.
Yeah. So listen, thanks again for being part of Johnny G and Friends. I'm going to get my way up to Minott, North Dakota when it's warm out, and maybe come to see your new restaurant. And I'll bring Kimberly. We'll hop in the Escalade. I'll leave Nashville, Tennessee, and we'll just set the directions on go and come up and spend some time together.
That'd be great. And we do have a great golf course here. And I'm a wee bit better than when I golf with Larry Brandt, the Yokohama president, when I hit a person in on their fairways. So I would love to see you up here in Minott.
All right. Take care, my friend. Thanks again for being part of Johnny G and Friends.
Thanks, Johnny.
The best way to experience something in life is for yourself, and Firestone tires were built for getting out there, for 3-day weekends, and for testing the waters. Try Firestone tires for 90 days. If you're not fully satisfied, we'll refund or replace. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.